Blog Talk.
Hey,
There you
welcome to Against the Regime.
All right, here we go. Wait, let it go. Let it go.
Welcome to Rage Against the Regime Radio, where status quo is taken to task. With your host, Bobby Who's Demand. Don't be a stranger. Give us a call at 929-477-3565 or contact us at rageagainsttheregimepodcast@gmail.com or on our Twitter at RATR Podcast. And please like our Facebook page. On with the show. Here's Bobby.
The ones who love the ones they love, we pray for you each day. Our nation's heart goes out to you to help you find your way. A brave new song of freedom can be heard across this land. The walls may fall and tumble down, but united we will stand. Be proud to be an American, American. Stand strong, sing out, we're American, American. Oh, say, can't you see, we fight for love and liberty. We're proud to be American. Courageous souls of yesterday fought bravely on this land. We keep our heroes in our hearts, our future in their hands. Tomorrow's dream will see the day, our children know the way. So teach them pride and love inside, so they'll grow strong and stay. Be proud to be an American, American. Stand strong, sing out loud, we're American, American. Oh, say, can't you see, from town to town and sea to sea, we're proud to be American. The spirit of our people is the rock we're built upon. Our colors wave to honor you, the strength to carry on. With different names and faces, growing stronger every day. There's no place like America. God bless the USA. Be proud to be an American, American. Stand strong, sing out loud, we're American, American. Oh, say, can't you see, we'll always live here safe and free. We're proud to be American. Be proud to be American.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rage Against the Regime podcast. And I am your host, Bobby Who's the Man. And of course, along with me, as a daily occurrence and becoming a bad habit, Becky Williams.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate you. Hey, today's guest is going to be Mr. Kc Massey. Am I correct?
I can't wait, and I'm hoping that Mr. Massey is able to join us today. Have you heard from him, or?
Casey, is that you at 469, brother?
Yes, it is.
Who I got? Area 469.
Awesome. Welcome aboard, Casey. We've really been looking forward to really doing this interview with you, and thank you for joining us, sir.
No problem.
Hey, brother.
You know, go ahead, Becky, if you want to go ahead and start. Go ahead.
I'm saying hi to Casey. He's one of my heroes.
Absolutely, one of mine also. You know, I just want to start off by apologizing because I know that there's quite a few people that were kind of upset with me, and I just kind of want to clear the air before we even start the conversation. Becky had called me on a three-way call the other day, and we had already been talking about trying to bring you on, Casey. So, Becky, I had told her a few times I would love to have you on. So when she called you on a three-way call, you know, and we got the okay from you and everything, you know, I'm the one that wrote up the descriptive by myself. I mean, nobody told me any words or anything to put, and I wrote the descriptive myself, and the wording that I put down, you know, for anybody, you know, that's listening that may want to know the story behind this, the reason why I put the words that I put is I wasn't trying to say that Casey was a member of the Texas State Militia or that he was a leader of the Texas State Militia. What I was trying to state is that Casey is pretty much a member of the militia, you know, by government standards or whatever you want to say, but leadership quality in my eyes and in Becky's eyes, who happens to be my co-host, I mean, we both felt the same way about you, that, you know, by the things that you do and the things that you say, that your leadership quality in our eyes. So I was describing you as a leader, not as a leader of the Texas State Militia. So I just wanted to clear the air on that.
Yeah, we're good. I mean, we talked about that yesterday, and
right.
Like I said,
right.
I understood that's what was your meaning, and so I didn't take offense to it. But there was some people that I guess that didn't understand and took it as a literal, and that's where the issue came in.
Right. Okay. No, I just wanted to, you know, everybody that didn't know to know it now, and, you know, hear and understand and know everything that's going on. So here we are today. You know, a lot of things are going on today. I don't know if you've been keeping up with the Joneses per se, but, you know, people from, you know, all over the country and everything are all heading, you know, towards the Washington, D.C. area, you know, and not people, you know, not just saying militia members, but I'm talking about patriots, period, are heading to Washington because everybody's pretty much pissed off on what's going on, you know, on the amnesty issue. And, you know, have you heard too much about that today, or?
Yep. A couple of guys that I know are headed that way. Blaine Cooper posted his picture on Facebook where he got hit with an SSSS code, which basically means you're a domestic terrorist to the federal government. And he posted that on his Facebook page. Manny Vega was supposed to be going with him.
Right. Yeah, I saw that on Blaine Cooper's page, and Becky and I were talking about it on a show that we were doing earlier just to catch people up on Spreaker. And, you know, I thought it was kind of funny, but on the same token, I mean, the same thing happened to, you know, to Mr. Bundy and happened to Buddha Bear just recently when, you know, when they were flying, and then also one of the other Bundy members, you know, of the family. So it wasn't surprising. So just to kind of touch down, you know, we you know, we really are. I'm trying to think of the word. You know, I'm trying to use the correct wording because I know that there's only so much that you can talk about, and we don't want to push any kind of issues or anything like that. You know, we just kind of want to maybe see if there's anything that you might be able to tell us that happened to you, while you were defending our country's borders and, and helping out people, helping out the Border Patrol. Can you get into that at all?
Well, to me, the most traumatic, I've faced the cartel for 4 months. I've seen armed men across the border, and none of that was near as traumatic to me as when I came out of my hotel room to 30 armed federal agents pointing guns in my face. That was pretty shocking.
Wow. Yeah, I would say. So, what the hell was that all about?
I don't know, man. I thought they must have the wrong guy. I could not understand for the life of me why they came at me like that. I even made the comment. What am I suspected of eating children and killing people? What's the purpose of coming at me like that? All any of them would have had to have done was call and said, "Hey, KC, I want you to come in and talk to us," and I would have willingly gone in and talked to them just to see, what was going on. And then at that point, they could have arrested me right there at their office without an incident. But it appears that they wanted to make a statement, so they made a big one. They came at me with 30 federal officers, and it was pretty shocking. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I would imagine shocking would be a good word, and scary being the other. Go ahead, Becky.
I need to ask you a question, brother. When they did that, there was word that after you had been taken into custody and removed from the location, that these federal agents stayed in and occupied that room up until late hours of the night, 9:30. And that supposedly it came from a gentleman who was working the desk at that hotel. Is that the truth, or is that hearsay?
Well, I couldn't tell you because I was locked away nicely and securely in the Cameron County Jail. The search warrant has got a time on it of 6:45. I believe that's when they. I don't know if that's when they started the search or that's when they ended the search. The timestamp on the search warrant on the inventory. Well, I guess it would have had to been. I was assuming that they would be done by 6:45 on the inventory, which I am looking at. It has 6:45 p.m. and it says date and time warrant executed. So that could have been when they started, and then they wrote down the inventory, and the form that they inventoried both my vehicles are both date and time stamped at the same time, and they were written by the same person, even though one says it was made in the presence of an ATF special agent, 2 names, and then the other one is 2 different ATF agents, but the handwriting looks like it was the same agent wrote both papers.
Okay.
So it shows 4 different special agents' names, ATF special agents. And they arrested me at around 1 o'clock, so it's possible it took them till 6 to get a search warrant. But I hardly see that to be the case because typically a judge isn't going to come in and, sign a warrant at 6 o'clock in the evening. And being as I was about 5 minutes away from the federal courthouse where the judge would have been, give it 10 minutes at most, that would have put it around 6:30 that they would have got the warrant signed and then there. But see, when they arrested me, I had my vehicle keys on me and I had the hotel room key on me. And they asked me when they had me laying face down on the ground if they could search, and I told them then no. But they took my keys and the room keys.
Well, it sounds like they didn't take no for an answer. That's for damn sure. Wow.
Well, the vehicle,
incredible.
It's my vehicle, but the room was a shared room that was shared by all the members of Camp Lone Star, and there was like 3 or 4 different to that room, and I just had one of them. The room was in my name because how many names can you put a hotel room name in?
Yeah, exactly.
And since I was the camp commander at the time when we got the room, that's why the room was in my name. But John Forrester, the quote co-defendant or the guy that styled with me on the paperwork, he had a key. Archie Seals had a key, and another member of Camp Lone Star had a key.
Brother, I'm going to ask you another question. You can tell me if you can answer or you want to discuss this. I understand there was a conference call the night before. Is that something you can discuss?
No, well, I mean, the conference call, I wouldn't turn, what it was a Zello call, and it was a discussion about what they're now calling Operation American Freedom, and it was when people were talking about trying to put together the now known as Operation American Freedom, and it was conducted over Zello.
I listened in on that call.
Didn't have anything to, as far as I know, it didn't have anything to do with that, but it could, you know.
That's what I was going to ask. I was not invited to the call, but I was brought into the call by another person to listen. They wanted my opinion on the organization because they had some question of this person that was supposedly going to be the leader and commander of this American Freedom. And so I listened in on that conversation. Oddly enough, the most audible in that conversation was you to me in my hearing. And the young lady who
what?
Pardon?
Most vocal?
The most audible that I could hear. Like, I could not hear very well everything that was being said, but when it came time to the roll call, I could hear you very well. I could hear who you were in your statement, which was not anything incriminating, just for the listening audience.
No, I said my name. This is Kc, Camp Lone Star.
That's it. That's all you said. But I was very concerned, and I expressed my concern about that call after the call, and I believe that was the night that I actually met you for the first time on a 3-way call from the other party. My concern is this, AC. I really feel like what happened to you was a setup. We know that Border Patrol has been given direct instruction, the directive from DHS straight down the line, and we know this to be a fact because I have Border Patrol who are active duty in my company running for governor. They were part of my council, military council. And I know that the directive that's been given to them is not to fire on any illegal aliens. Yet the night in question that seems to have been what led up to your incarceration was that an agent had actually fired their weapon at you. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened that night?
Well, this is what happened as far as the agent firing at us. That happened to one of my teammates, the quote my co-defendant or whatever you call it, the guy that styled John Forrester. He was styled on the paperwork with me. That occurred back in August when they did that. What I believe triggered the scrutiny, and from what the FBI told me, is about 3 or 4 days prior to me being arrested, we had an incident where the Border Patrol surrounded myself and another teammate out on patrol, out on the border, and they turned on the red and blues, and they swarmed us. There were 6 of them, and their excuse was, well, we didn't know who you were. And it's like, okay, you've seen us down here for 4 months. You know, I was driving with the mule with the LED light bars lit up. It looks like a spaceship. You guys, I'm the only one around here that has that lighting capability. I'm pretty sure y'all knew who I was. And there is a video that is posted to YouTube that shows the confrontation, or the however you want to term it, where the Border Patrol jammed us up. And at that point, I don't believe that they liked the way it went, because the Border Patrol tried to assert authority over me and my teammate. And I quickly clarified for them that they did not have the authority to question me, to check me, to harass me, to anything. You know, that it was their job to enforce immigration law and no other form of law in the state. And then after we got back to camp, I contacted one of the Border Patrol officers that was parked there by camp and requested that the captain who had jammed us out there in the field come to my campsite and speak to me. And that video, or / audio, because it was just an audio recording of the incident the second time, that is also on YouTube. And at that point, I basically was admonishing him for trying to exert authority over me, which he did not have. And I mean, it was a decently lengthy conversation where he admitted that I hadn't done anything wrong, that, you know, I was doing everything the way I was supposed to, the agreements that we made with Border Patrol, and I made all this information public, which I believe offended the Border Patrol. And the FBI informed me that they were the ones that had initiated the investigation on me at around the same time that I posted this video and audio, and then we talked about it on our Blog Talk Radio show. And when they gave the information to the FBI turned around and handed it over to the ATF, and the ATF went back to the August incident, and that's what they filed their criminal complaint based on the incident that happened in August, and charged me with felon in possession of a firearm. And that is because I was convicted when I was 22 years old in 1988 of a felony.
Brother, I have my own opinion on that particular situation. First of all, it's unconstitutional. In the original documents, there was nothing that stated that a person who had paid to the state for their crime, that their weapon would no longer be available to them to defend themselves or their property or their family. And for anybody out there that's listening, you're all obviously entitled to your own opinion concerning a felony charge and you being in possession of a weapon. Is my personal feeling that you standing up and painting a target on your forehead for 4 months and some change down there on the border, sacrificing time away from your wife and your children and your home and your comforts, sacrificing income in order to secure or attempt to secure my state and the citizens in this state is highly commendable, and I have no problem with the fact that you were down there doing that for me and doing it armed in order to assure the security of the state. You were acting as you should be and as your rights are according to our documents. So I want to say thank you. I really do. I want to.
Well, my thing is anybody that, you know, wants to make the comment, and there's been several, and, you know, I am a Constitution supporting and loving patriot. So the people that want to talk against me, that's fine, and I'm okay with that because they have that right. This is America, or it's supposed to still be America. But like you stated, nowhere in the Constitution does it say that a person who's been convicted of a felony cannot own a firearm. And as a matter of fact, if you go back and look in American history, and the quickest reference I can give you is Wyatt Earp. Wyatt Earp was a convicted murderer. He went to prison, did his time, got out, and became a world-famous lawman. And one of the first questions that I'll ask anybody that claims to be a patriot is, what Constitution do you support? Do you support the organic Constitution, the convoluted Constitution, or the perverted Constitution? Myself, I support the organic Constitution. And there's several provisions in the organic Constitution that allow for me to have arms and to protect my state and the United States. Second Amendment being one, and then the militia clause, where it talks about the militia. And they never, ever stripped the, quote, militia of their right to keep and bear arms. And since that was the title that the government's put on me, that's the title that the media put on me, we self-recognized as concerned citizens. And, you know, the reason we couldn't call it a militia, or in my opinion, call it a militia, because the people that were there from all over the United States. And if you had a, quote, militia from other states, you know, that's disrespectful to the state to bring in militias from another state, especially without dealing with the quote, Texas militia first. Texas militia never showed up on the border.
I will say this. I just recently engaged in a discussion about that very matter, and we do, under the documents, have the right to go to another state to defend border. And if the governor is not securing the state with their militia and every resource that they have to assure not only the invasion from another state, but from a foreign entity or country, allowing foreigners from all over the world to enter in on those floodgates, everybody has a right to show up to secure that border, because essentially what happens is that filters into their state. So that is
I
an
agree.
international...
I fully agree and support. I'm just saying that some people were not liking the term militia because some of the people were from other states, because, I mean, we had people that came from Ohio, Indiana, Louisiana, the Carolinas, Arizona, California, New Mexico, I mean, all over the place, Mississippi, Alabama. I mean, we had people from all over the country come down there to help us secure the border. And to this date, we were the most successful border operation ever in the United States, full-time border operation. We lived on the border, and we worked the border every day. And the biggest thing that drove me to video and audio things was because at the time, and even still now, the federal government claimed that we people, the citizens of the state, did not have a right to arrest and detain people, when, yes, we do. Any American or any citizen of a state, if you witness somebody committing a felony, you do have the right to detain them. You can't furtherance their entrance into the United States, but we could legally and lawfully hold them, detain them, and then turn them over to Border Patrol, which we did, and I have video proof of that. Second, they said that we weren't able to do...
Go ahead, brother.
Second is they said that we weren't able to do that job because we were not properly trained. And my argument and my illustration through my actions is that it doesn't take training, because if what you guys are considered training is not working. What we used was common sense. And that's, I hate to use it like this, but this is the way that I compare it. It's like when you're a kid, you know, you Red Rover, let somebody come over, and then, you know, you join arms and they try to crash through you and you bounce them back and they can't make it through. Well, basically that's what we did, is we would set scouts out along the border, and when they saw the illegals assembling to come across, they would radio in. We would send a force out there to stand on the border. I mean, we didn't point guns at people. We didn't threaten anybody. We just made a physical presence. And on the Texas side, the elevation is higher than the Mexican side. So we're on a ridge above the Mexican side of the border. So when these people are at the Mexican side of the border, on their side of the river, and they look up on the ridge, you see a bunch of guys standing up there. It de-incentivizes people from wanting to try to cross, and it stops them from trying to cross. And the problem with the Border Patrol is they sit anywhere from 300 to 400 to 50 miles off the border. They do not actively work directly on the border, thus allowing them to enter our country, and then it's a cat and mouse game, because the people that haven't been to the border, let me explain. The terrain there is some of it is fields, wide open fields. But there's a lot of heavy brush, tall grass. Some of the grass was up to 6 feet tall. Like I said, the Mexican side of the border is at a lower elevation. So when they come across, they're able to come across undetected because our side is higher. Now, once they make it up the embankment into the 6-foot grass, then they're still not observed unless you're directly on the border observing the river. From that point, it's easy to hopscotch through the wooded areas until they find a way to get into the neighborhoods. Once they're into the neighborhoods, they're free and clear, so it's really easy to cross our borders and come into our country if you do not work the actual border on the river. And that's why we were so effective, is because that's exactly what we did. We worked directly on the river, and that was an arrangement that we made with the Border Patrol when we first got there. The Border Patrol cadre, the captains, the majors, all the top brass out of Brownsville, they came to Camp Lone Star and met with us. We sat down and we made rules, how they wanted us to conduct. One of the rules that we had, or one of the agreements we made, is that we would stay between the river road, because basically there's a dirt road that runs all the way along the edge of the river. And then we told them we would stay from the river road to the river, which typically is about 20 yards. They had voiced a concern that they didn't want us beyond the river road back toward, free open America, because that's where they had sensors set up, and that's where they would send agents in to try to catch the illegals that had made it through. And they didn't want us to run into them and both of us armed and then have a mishap. So one of the agreements that we made is we would always stay between the river road and the river, and that way they knew where we'd be, and there shouldn't have been any problems.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna say that what they were doing with you on the not being properly trained is BS. If that were, in fact, a prerequisite for a citizen's arrest in this country, we would all go through formal training, or we would not have the capability and the right and the obligation to do so. Clearly, we are being blocked at every avenue, and not all the Border Patrol, just like not all policemen, are corrupt. And I have some very frustrated active duty Border Patrol in my company that keep me well informed with what's going on at the border. Z-Man, are you online? Can you hear me, sir?
Yep, I'm here.
Z-Man.
I wasn't sure if you guys had brought me out. I didn't want to say anything and interrupt either.
Z-Man, I'd like to introduce you to Kc. Kc, this is Z-Man. He co-hosts with us from time to time, and he may have a few questions for you as well.
Okay.
How's it going today, Kc?
I'm doing good. How about yourself, sir?
I'm doing all right. So what were we all talking about here? We all got all mixed up here.
Well, we were talking about Kc down on the border, what happened to him from the raid to his situation down there on the border, and what their actual objective was, why he was there, and how they executed it.
Oh, okay.
We're about to see an influx. We're going to see an influx like nobody has ever seen on that border. I'm getting texts and phone calls from my active duty up and down that corridor, and they are really upset with what's taking place tonight. They're all on alert. I've been told that we're going to see an influx that is 10 times greater than what we've experienced since, in particular, since March of this year. May was heavy hit. May, June, and July were really heavy on the border. You can tell me if that's truth or not, brother, in your area. But the influx, once that amnesty speech is given tonight by the usurper, we are going to see an influx like never before.
So am I correct to assume that Z is a Border Patrol officer?
No.
Me, myself, no.
What?
Somebody's got a car window open.
Somebody got what?
We're hearing a lot of background noise
You know
all
what?
of a sudden.
I'm at work, and I'm just getting done with work, and my work truck, I keep going for mute and unmuting because I'm trying to get in between you and Becky. It's not working, but I keep muting. I'm the one that's kind of loud over here, so I'm going to mute again so you guys can talk.
Okay, here we go. No, I'm not a Border Patrol agent, no. I'm all the way up here in the People's Republic of New York, as I said last night.
Oh, okay.
Stuck over here behind enemy lines. But that's pretty shocking, I have to admit. I mean, like I said, I don't have to necessarily deal with with the immigration problem as much, being as far north as I am, but I still understand the problem, and that's just extremely troubling. I mean, we talked about this briefly yesterday. I said, that's the reason why Rome fell, is because of its porous borders, and then, this kind of stuff just reminds me of, the past. I said yesterday, those who don't learn from their past are doomed to repeat it, and it seems like we're repeating it.
History does repeat itself, and that is a very correct statement. If you don't learn from the past, from the mistakes of the past, as an example in my life is I learned from the mistake that I made when I was 22 years old and wound up getting myself incarcerated. And I learned from that mistake and did not reoffend. And the law that they're using to come after me is under the Interstate Commerce Clause, which the law that they're using against me is a mob era law that they wrote to stop the mobsters and gangsters back in the 20s and 30s. And it was used and accepted back then because the mobsters were transporting guns, alcohol, prostitutes across state lines, and they were victimizing the citizenry of the respective states. So the federal government, since they had authority over interstate commerce, wrote a law to go after them, and that was the original intent of the law. They never took the law back once they crushed the mobs. And now they're using it to come after patriots along with anybody else who is a dissenter or somebody that they feel like they want to shut up and get out of the way, and they've used it against me.
Well, one thing that bothers me, I'm a convicted felon myself. Did something long time ago, and it's just the public's way, of saying that we're never going to let you live it down. They always got to throw it in your face when you're going for a job. You fill out an application. It could be something you did 25 years ago. Oh, we're sorry, we can't hire you because, you're a convicted felon and blah, blah, blah. Not have nothing against you in 20-plus years and been, a stand-up citizen and everything else, and they still want to hold it against you, so it's their way of holding you down, and not prospering in life like you're supposed to.
Well, just like in my case, when I went in front of the judge for the crime that I committed, which just so happened it was burglary. I wasn't actually the burglar, but I was tied with other people who were burglarizing houses, and I was buying the stuff they were stealing. So basically, I'm just as guilty as the actual thief. So I'm not trying to discount or make light of what crime I was involved in. It was wrong. It involved victimizing people, and I was 100% wrong. There's no way around it. But, when I went in front of the judge, who was a duly elected judge, is the one who gave me the sentence that he gave me. He gave me 5 years. I satisfied the sentence that was put upon me by the state for my crimes, for my part in victimizing my fellow citizens of Texas. I did that. I did every bit of it. Never had a problem, never violated, and I haven't been in trouble since. So I don't understand how any sane human being could continue to want to victimize me when I have done and paid for my crime according to the sentence that was handed down to me. I didn't have a choice. I didn't say, hey, Judge, 5 years, that's it. That's all you can give me. I ain't doing another dime. The judge is the one who elected to give me what he gave me, and I satisfied the sentence that was put upon me. That was supposed to pay for the crime that I committed. So to further victimize me and to call me a, quote, felon for the rest of my life, I mean, why didn't you just execute me? I mean, if that's what you're going to do to anybody who commits a felony, is victimize them after they pay for their sentence, then what's the point? Where is there any justice in the legal system? And like I referred to Wyatt Earp earlier, one of the most famous lawmen in American history was a convicted murderer. He went to prison, studied law, got out of prison, and then became one of the most famous lawmen. So where did it change? How did it change? Why did we allow ourselves to be brainwashed into thinking that, you know, once somebody commits a crime that they're evil and bad forever? Because if we really feel that way, then what's the point of having incarceration? If you commit a felony, let's just execute every single felon. No more forgiveness, no more sentencing. Let's not feed the industrial prison complex. Let's not have to hire all these guards and build all these prisons. Let's just execute everybody for any felony they commit. That way you don't have to worry about them reoffending. That way they don't have to be a burden on society for the rest of their lives, and they don't have to be victimized. See, now, I've been victimized by society. I've been a fine, upstanding citizen for 26 years. I've been nationally recognized and locally recognized for my charitable work. I'm well established and well known in my community. I have not reoffended since 1988. So why am I still having to pay a price and a cost for something that I've already paid for? It's kind of like buying your car, and then a couple of years later they come back and say, no, you still owe me on the car, and if you don't pay me for the car, I'm going to take your car. Who would stand for that? But I have no choice because America has been brainwashed into this thinking that once a felon, always a felon. And so, you know, that's how the federal government is demonizing me to come after me, to try to incarcerate me, when, you know, in the last 26 years, I've raised 3 kids. I have 4. Every one of them are very successful, hardworking. One of my kids is a United States Marine. None of my kids have ever been in trouble. They all graduated AB honor roll. So, I mean, why do I have to keep being victimized for a crime that I committed over 26 years ago? I'm a 48-year-old man, and I would like to have any man that's my age tell me that he's the same man that he was when he was 22. I would like for any man that's 30 years old to tell me that he's the same man at 30 that he was at 22. You know, intelligent people grow and mature, and that's exhibited through your actions, not through your mouth. And through my actions, I've exhibited that I am not the same person that I was when I was being a criminal.
Sure. Well, you know, and it's a damn shame because you're right. I mean, I'm living the same life that you are. I mean, I'm going through the same ordeal. I go through, you know, pretty much the same thing that you are, but not at the level that you are because I don't, you know, have nowhere near the recognition. But, you know, it's just a damn shame. You know, I'm not trying to brag, but my wife and I, we do a ton of charity work. We have a Toys for Tots fundraiser every year. We work the food lines at Christmas time and at Thanksgiving. That's our way of giving back, you know, to the community and stuff. And, you know, I mean, we're trying to teach our kids, you know, if you can't give anything else, you can give yourself.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's just the way that we are. But, you know, society, you know, still frowns upon us, you know, no matter what we do and no matter, you know, how we live our life and know how much good you can do for anybody, it's going to be the same thing every time.
And I agree, but here's my solace in that, is that I know in the end, when I do have to pass and I go to the other side, God's not going to forget everything that's happened. God knows my heart, and he knows where I've been, and he knows what I've done. So I know and I feel comfortable in the fact that in the end, everything that I've done and tried to accomplish, it'll be a mark for it, and he's not going to hold it against me that I was a felon. You know, and that's another thing that our countrymen need to look at. Every one of our founding fathers were felons. They were all treasonous. They all turned against the crown, which I'm glad they did, but they were still considered felons. They were still considered criminals. They were still wanted by the crown to be killed because they rebelled against the government, the crown. So I'm still perplexed as to where did our country go wrong that we feel we have to continue to demonize people who make mistakes. I mean, that was part of going to prison, was to rehabilitate somebody, to have them change their thought processes. And just like you and I, you know, one of the reasons why I do what I do and I'm as charitable and helpful as I can be is because I do owe this country a great debt of gratitude. This country has provided me a great life, a wonderful wife, great kids. I've been successful. And so I want to give back, to show my appreciation for a country that has done so much for me. And that's why it hurts me so bad to be going through what I'm going through now, because I've exhibited through my actions, not my mouth. You know, words mean nothing. Actions speak louder than words, and I've taught my kids that their whole life. And I have exhibited through my actions where my heart is and what kind of person I am. Yet when it comes to the federal government, if you don't do what they want you to do, all that's irrelevant.
You know, we have a situation here, since you brought the crown up and the treasonous acts that they placed upon or labeled our founding fathers with. At the end of the day, slavery has been around since the beginning of time. People owned other people, and part of the situation and the circumstances that has brought us to where we are today is the ownership of entitled, self-entitled bureaucrats, aristocrats, and the cabal, and government. And they're all one and the same. They're all the same nasty little spawn out of the same spider sack. And the Common Core curriculum that's being taught in our education system today has been created by that spider sack. And they are teaching, in fact, what you just stated to our children in school, and that is that our founding fathers and patriots were tyrants and guilty of treason. We were terrorists. That is being taught to your children in the curriculum today. And jihad fighters, on the other hand, Islam, that is being shoved down their throats and brainwashing them, is stating that jihad is actually freedom fighters, see. Now, those that butcher and oppress and wreak havoc on the world for centuries and have slaughtered millions, not only of their own, but anyone else that is not of the Islamic faith, they're teaching our children to be trusting of the infiltration that's coming through. And when we're talking about the border issue, we're talking about not just Hispanics. One of the biggest damage that's being done by media right now is the amnesty and pointing a finger at the Hispanics, trying to make it look like because they're coming through Mexico, they're all Hispanic. Can I ask you a question about that? The amnesty that is about to be put on us is for everyone, and I need the listeners to understand this. The amnesty is for anyone from any country that has illegally entered either by an expired visa for education or work permit or have come across a border illegally. I have to ask you this, brother. Casey, how many would you estimate were OTMs?
Over 2/3, and I know this because, like I said, I was on the border for over 4 months. I personally handled a lot of people. I saw a lot of people. And the ones that we personally detained and held, we saw their IDs, were OTM, over 2/3. And one day, we chased with side by side with Border Patrol. They came to our camp and got us and said, hey, we need your help. And we had to go through some extremely thick, dense brush with big, huge. I mean, I got stung over 20 times by bees. Another one of my teammates got tore up by cactus. Anyway, the point was we chased these 6 OTMs into the Border Patrol. They were all 6 of Middle Eastern descent. The majority of the people that we dealt with were from South America or the Middle East. There was very few that were actual Mexicans.
You know, and that's really, really disturbing to me, brother. See, I know that truth, and I knew it already, but our listeners need to hear it from somebody who's actually been down there on the border and experienced what you have experienced, and that's why I wanted you to answer that. That's a travesty that we're not being told who this amnesty is for. It is by assumption. See, that's that little pea and shell game that this administration, these cockroaches, are pulling on America. Is they're pitting the Hispanics against the rest of the Americans, in particular the whites. They're pitting the Muslims have now taken up regard for the thug mentality in the black population. All blacks are thugs. Not all of them are like that, but that particular type of individual is the ones that we see pilfering and rioting in the streets. And with what he's about to bring down today, CARE has decided to join forces and to help organize with Al Sharpton across the board, and is inciting the riots across America after the verdict is brought in tomorrow on Officer Wilson concerning the Michael Brown case. So we need our listeners to be fully aware of exactly what. Oh, and it's not just about the Hispanic invasion.
No, and here's another fallacy that's been told to the American people. I worked the border in Texas from El Paso to Brownsville, which is just about every drop of the border. Actually, I worked from El Paso to Boca Chica Beach, which is right at the mouth of the river at the Gulf. And out of all the time that I spent on the border, we saw and dealt with one child. Everybody else, well, I'd say at least 2/3 of them were male. There was at least 2/3 were male. There were some females, but there was one child in the entire 4.5 or 4+ months that I was on the border that I saw or dealt with. One child. The places where the children came through were the places where the media was set up. That was all intentional and for optics. But the actual border incursions that I saw, witnessed, and dealt with had no children involved, period. One child. And I've got video proof of the people that I've repelled from this country. I have personally been involved in turning over 200 illegal aliens back across the border. And out of those 200 plus, and I'm being conservative because I don't want, people to think, oh, he's bullshit. No, I'm telling you, without a doubt, without any hesitation, I will tell you over 200. One child. So what odds is that? 1 in 200? And let's just take it at the low number, 1 in 200, when the number's actually higher. But I don't have the actual amount due to the fact that some people had come to Camp Lone Star and they were with the MMM movement. They came in there and were supposed to be there for a weekend, and they were there for about 3 or 4 hours. Said they needed to go to the store to get something, left and never came back. And our roster book that had our tallies, where we used to keep tally of how many people we would encounter and run back, where we were trying to keep a count of it, that book was stolen. So I can't tell you definitively how many it was because the book was removed and we didn't keep a backup copy of it. But I can assure you without a doubt that I personally was a part of turning over 200 illegal aliens back. And out of those over 200, one child. So even if you take the low number of 200, 1 in 200, that doesn't sound like a child issue to me.
No.
No, we don't know.
You know what, let us give out the phone number. Before we go any further, let's give out the phone number just in case anybody wants to call us or call and talk to Kc. It's 929-477-3565. That's 929-477-3565. We are opening up the phone lines for you right now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Brother, I have another question. If you had to guess, based on any conversation or chatter that you've come across in the most recent this week, how would you say the temperature was concerning the boiling point of being pushed too far? You're hearing now the Patriots.
Well, you know, the problem is, and it's sad, there's a lot of people that I term provocateurs. And in my opinion, the majority, you know, we're all people who love this country, who love the country that we've grown up in. We love the rights that we're supposed to have, granted through the Constitution. We're all upset. We're angry. But a lot of us still don't know what to do. And the majority of the people that I've seen that are trying to incite or encourage acts of domestic terror or violence against our fellow countrymen and against our country, I believe to be provocateurs out there to try to get this started, just like in the Ferguson incident. You know, people like Al Sharpton. You know, Americans, we don't want to hurt each other. You know, the whole point, especially as a patriot, is we love our fellow Americans. We love our fellow citizens of our states. And the last thing I ever want to do is have a problem with any American. I defended the border because I love my fellow Americans. But there's a lot of people that are
what I'm
aggravated.
I'm getting back a lot of my guys and my gals out there over the last 48 hours. They're ready to fight. We're to a point where we have to realize that we're in a deadly catch-22, and we've allowed ourselves to be pushed into this corner by a government. The travesty of the government imposition and the imposition that they choke us with by taxation, enforced medical care, and taking care of felons who are here and giving them carte blanche, and the homeless that we have on the street today. 1 in 30 homeless people are children. That really pisses me off. That's American children, by the way. The way that they've treated our vets to kill them off because they know they're the biggest threat to rise up and lead the Patriots to victory in the event of a civil confrontation with the government. I'm getting a lot of people who are saying, where do I go? I want to sign up for a militia. I've never wanted to be in a militia right now. We're about to be in a fight. White America is going to be attacked by the obvious opposition, with several. It's not just the Hispanics. It's the Muslims. It's the blacks are being incited, in particular the younger groups. I watched some very disturbing videos last night. I couldn't really understand them because they don't know how to speak English. They speak corny bonnet crap. Americans running their mouths with hoods on, and their weapons in their hand, talking about white motherfuckers, pardon my language, and white MF that, and we're gonna kill Whitey, and when this shit kicks off, it's gonna be a killing field, and
but I think a lot of those people are they're being intentionally played by the government because the government wants us to turn on each other, because it goes back to the old saying, united we stand, divided we fall. And, here's what should incense people right here. Just like myself and the host of the show, we're both felons. I'm being prosecuted by my government for being a felon from 26 years ago, but every one of these illegal aliens that has crossed our borders is a felon, and our president is going to give them amnesty, and they've done nothing to earn it. I have earned the right to have an amnesty. I have, through my actions, exhibited that I have changed. These people are still criminals. They flagrantly violated our laws and came in here. Now they're stealing our resources, our funds, and the president's going to give them amnesty. What about amnesty for the people who have been here for this country, myself included, that made mistakes 20-plus years ago, and I've exhibited through my actions that I am a true and honest American, that I love my country and my fellow countrymen, and I'm being persecuted while these other recent felons are being granted an amnesty and given a free way of life. So it's really insulting to people like myself.
persecuted because you stood up for America and you were a thorn in the side of a rogue government who had orchestrated an infiltration, and you were causing some grief for them in that area. That's the truth of the matter. They singled you out because you did have a felony conviction, but you were effective on the border. You were effective at slowing down their ability to complete their agenda.
Yeah, it's sad. I mean, it's a sad day for America, that's for sure.
We have a couple callers here. I'm going to bring one on and see what question they may have for Casey. Can you hold on just a minute, guys? Let me bring them in. 360.
All right, bring them on.
Hello?
360, area code 360. Who have I got?
That's Gray Wonderland, Becky.
Hey, is this Gray?
You betcha, sweetie.
Hey, Gray, I want you to say hi to Kc Massey. That's who our guest is today. Do you have some questions for him?
I'll tell you what, we're just as mad up here on the northern border as everybody is on the southern border, believe me. There's a whole bunch of them suckers in Canada that are waiting to come across now.
Yeah, I would imagine that they probably think that Canada's going to be the best place right now.
Bobby, was anybody on this call aware that during the sequester that the usurper, the little cockroach that's sitting up in our White House at $1.7 billion of vacation money every year, were you guys aware that during the sequester the northern border was left completely open without security for 6 weeks? I looked
we
it
know
up myself.
We've been fighting. Becky, we've been fighting it up here for years. You know, it's like every time I go elk hunting, I don't know if I'm gonna shoot an elk or an illegal.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but you know what? They've been seeing for a long time. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, you know, it's just that you get up there around the Canadian border, and there's just miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of nothing except an easy access, and that's it. And I mean, you can see trails, you know, that used to be a game trail, and now it's littered with trash and stuff. Something ain't right. You know what I'm saying? Something ain't right, and the next thing you know, and then I see the Border Patrol agents pulling people over down here, like, let's see, say along State Highway 20, State Highway 2, which is like, you know, 100 miles on the damn border, you know, instead of being up there in the hills doing their thing. You know what I mean?
That's the way they operate on the southern border, too.
Are you guys finding prayer rugs like we find down here on the southern border?
I don't know. I think all I can say is I've seen Border Patrol cars just not, you know, where they need to be. They need to be up there in the hills, out on the ground, and catching them.
But that involves common sense.
Instead of pulling people over down here for, you know, no reason really. You know what I'm saying?
Right. What was that, Casey?
I said that's because of their training and not common sense. And the thing about it is that Americans need to realize the Border Patrol has no law enforcement authority. The only authority vested in them is to enforce immigration law. They have no authority to pull you over on a public road. They have no authority to check property rights, to search your vehicle, any of that. They are not charged with that. They are only charged with and have the authority to enforce immigration law. So why are they not on the border? Because that's the only place that they're authorized to do their job.
I understand, exactly. And the only thing unless they were actually chasing a vehicle that they knew had illegals in it, then I got no problem with it. But if they're just putting checkpoints for no reason, way the hell down here, we need them up there is where we need them.
Oh, I'll tell you this much. It's deeper than everybody thinks. This is the surface that they want the average American or the class and I found that out today under a psych ops operation where the government is doing their data, collecting data, which is why they classified Mr. Cooper as a 4S situation. He's a type A, just like him. But what the problem really is this. Our states are poured out by federal money. And a certain amount of allocations out of certain funds are given for certain things to operate a state. Now, the DHS is a federal agency, and every agency that comes under them, if it's not a state-regulated like a police force or a Department of Public Safety, however, I'll get there in a minute, anytime the funding comes out of the allocations for the DHS with the federal government to any given state or any border situation or whatever it is a federal program. In other words, it's all under their command. And as long as the DHS is being told, listen, let everybody in, it doesn't matter if you have a Department of Public Safety, which is the falsehood that of security that's tried to why they're doing what the Border Patrol are doing. They're what DHS tells them to do. They have to release, just not resist. In some instances, we're seeing on the Border Patrol that their weapons are being taken away, saying that they're somewhat antiquated or not active any longer.
Well, yeah, and you talk to the rank and file Border Patrol, they're upset with this anyway. They want to be able to enforce the law just like they should. You know, I mean, you talk to the rank and file, they are ticked off.
Well, harassing the American citizens, which, correct me if I'm wrong, brother, I believe that's what Kc was leading up to, is it is not Border Patrol, is not their place to harass an American. It's to enforce the immigration law. So
I know, and that's all they want to do. But
if anybody has any doubt, that is their job and that is their only authority, I have Border Patrol on video and audio admitting to the fact that they have no authority over Americans other than to check status and to enforce immigration law. I've got a Border Patrol captain on video and audio admitting that is their only authority, that they have no authority to enforce any other law other than immigration. So if anybody doubts what we're saying, I've got it on video and audio. It can be found on YouTube. All you have to do is go to YouTube.
I've seen it, and I agree 100%. What I'm saying is there are a lot of rank and file that would love to do just only that. That would love to be able to actually enforce the law instead of having to turn them over to wherever and then watch them get released. That's
well, there's
even
Border Patrols that we worked with down on the border in Texas, and a lot of the Border Patrol are severely aggravated, especially the old guys. They're up for retirement. They're the ones that are aggravated the most. The young guys, they're brainwashed into thinking that they're these gung-ho, can do anything, enforce anything, federal agents. But the old guys, they're upset that this is being allowed to happen. The young guys, they look at it as a game. It's a cat and mouse game. They give them this big head start to get into the country, and then they get to have fun chasing them down, running them through the woods. It's like hunting any animal, except you're hunting a man. And so it's a game to them. And this game is very dangerous to us as Americans.
Oh, sure, because they're running through your backyard. They're running through your ranchers' backyards just like they're running through our logging mills and everything up here. They're doing the same damn thing. And it's not. I will admit, not near in the quantity that you all have by a long shot, but it's still the same game they're playing.
Well, I'll tell you a story. I went through Sault Ste. Marie one time to try to get into Canada. Canada didn't let me into the country, because I'm a convicted felon. So they turned me around and sent me back, and I'll tell you something, the United States Border Patrol tore my car apart and my son was only 3 or 4 months old at the time. I had my wife and my kids in the car, and they treated us like we were some kind of criminals or whatever, completely tore my car apart, didn't let us in the country, and then didn't strip search us, but searched us before they would let us get back in the car, and we had to put my car back together, which took us about 2 hours. They had us detained for about 4 hours, and it was quite crazy.
And now that was U.S. that did that?
Yes, sir. You know what? Okay. Canada, all they said to me was, sorry, sir, we can't let you in the country, because you're a convicted felon, blah, blah, blah. Sent me on my way. When I went back to the United States border, they came out with those little sticks that they put underneath your car where it will stop your car, and it'll shut down the electronics and all that. They put the stopping sticks underneath and walk side by side. We were walked by 5 or 6 of the Border Patrol agents into a garage area where they tore my car completely apart for about 4 hours.
And what were you convicted of?
It wasn't nothing major, I can tell you that, and it was a long time ago. So they had no, it wasn't an aggravated crime or nothing like that.
Was it drug
it should never have been. Sorry?
Did it have anything to do with drugs?
No.
Okay.
The funny thing is, the arresting officers tried to pin drugs on me.
Yeah. Okay.
They tried to have a drug thing on my sleeve, but they couldn't. It didn't hold up. The judge slammed it and said, "There's no way, illegal search and seizure and all that stuff." But So in other words,
they were trying to get brownie points on the back of an old felon. Is what they were trying to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, but see, that's something else that we as Americans have been brainwashed. When this country was founded, some of our founding fathers grew marijuana, hemp.
Yeah.
They grew and had drugs freely available in America up until the 1900s, when all of a sudden, due to the amount of money that could be made by regulating and controlling it, did they make it illegal. I'm of the mind, and I don't use drugs, and I don't even drink alcohol. But I firmly believe that any person has a choice to do with their life and their body as they desire. I'm tattooed. I like tattoos.
So am I, brother. So that there's no judgment here.
Well, but
actually,
I'm not judging anybody.
Until they made tattoos cool with the Harley craze in 2003, anybody that had tattoos was looked upon badly. But now, because doctors and lawyers got them, now it's cool. But with the drugs, and alcohol, what's the difference between alcohol and a drug? You can get it just as intoxicated under alcohol and hurt just as many people as doing drugs. It's all about money and control. I believe so.
Absolutely. I know. I avoid alcohol. Sorry?
I've never seen a headline saying, dude stoned on pot, goes the wrong way on the highway and kills a family of 5 in a minivan, or ran through a red light. You know why? Because when you're that high, you drive 20 miles an hour.
Well, if we went back to what this country was founded on, common law, for common law, there has to be a victim for there to be a crime. And when we got away from that, what we've allowed the government and our states to do is make all these criminal laws to make all these criminals, and it's all for control and for money. Just for instance, I've had this debate with people. It's like DWI. While I firmly agree that you should not drink and drive, and like I said, I do not consume alcohol in any way, in any shape, any form, any fashion. But if you are just driving under the influence of alcohol, you have not committed a crime under common law. Now, if due to your actions of consuming alcohol, you victimize somebody, you hurt somebody in a car wreck or whatever, then you should pay the penalty for your actions of harming another person. But just the act alone of driving under the influence should not be a crime. The same with drugs. If you want to get high and do your drugs, whatever it may be, that shouldn't be a crime. But if you affect someone else detrimentally because of your decision to do drugs, you should pay a heavy price for harming some innocent person that didn't have anything to do with your decision. And until we start getting that back into our head, that there is no crime unless there's a victim. The state cannot be a victim. The United States cannot be a victim. We're not going to get the picture. They're going to keep dividing us. And that's one of the ways that they divide us is by, oh, well, he drinks, so you ought to hate him. And, you know, he's a criminal because he does this or that. If you're not creating a victim, it should not be a crime, period. I don't care what your activity is. And if you victimize somebody, then the penalty should be stern. And it shouldn't be like now where you get sentenced to, say, 5 years in prison and you do a year and a half, 2 years. By God, if you get 5 years, you should do 5 years. If you get a life sentence, then you should do a life sentence. But to me, I'm of the opinion that if you're going to give somebody a life sentence, go ahead and execute them. Because why should we have to pay to continue to keep them on the tax dollars supporting somebody whose life isn't worth having? But it all goes back to money. It all goes back to the industrial prison complex. There's too much money to be made in incarcerating people, and that's why the United States of America has more of its own people incarcerated than any other countries in the world, because we've created all these laws as a means of control and a means to generate income. How is it against the law to not wear a seatbelt? Who's going to be harmed if you get ejected from the car? You are, not anybody else. You don't create a victim because you kill yourself.
Right.
But yet, don't wear a seatbelt and see what happens. We've allowed our laws and our thought processes to be perverted because people forgot what Benjamin Franklin said. Those who would give up their security or give up their liberty for security deserve neither. You know, we have to be secure in ourselves. We have to maintain our own security. And if you're dependent and reliant on somebody else to do that for you, then, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you get what you get. I would rather have a dangerous life that I have to protect than to rely on somebody else to do it for me, because obviously that hasn't stopped the crime. Obviously the crime rate is through the roof. That's why we have so many of our own people incarcerated.
Well, absolutely.
Sure.
I agree with you to a degree, brother, but the whole thing is Bobby knows this story. Is my family is a victim of a psycho guy who lives next door to me right now, who ended up shooting somebody in the back 5 times. And the guy ended up being a pedophile. He ended up being a drug dealer. He ended up beating the ever-loving hell out of one of my family members. And he ended up shooting somebody 5 times. So I have to disagree with you to a degree. If you do something wrong with a firearm, like shoot somebody, he's now a convicted felon, and he's never allowed to own a firearm again. And that's the only reason why I feel secure, because he lives literally right next door to me. So to a degree,
if he shot somebody and he's a pedophile, then he shouldn't be here on this planet. If you're going to victimize, he victimized people. He victimized an innocent child. He victimized somebody by shooting them. So why is he even free, and why is he even still alive? You know, I believe in the old school, kind of like Napoleonic law, that say...
Sounds like he's got a good lawyer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, his mommy had a lot of money.
Paid
That's
the
the problem.
system.
That's the whole thing. That made me mad as hell, because if you have a lot of money, because he was sentenced to, he got assault with a deadly weapon with intention to do bodily harm in the 2nd degree, was sentenced to do 7 years. It's only been 5. And now he's harassing my family again. He drives a dump truck up and down the road, laying on the Jake brake at early hours in the morning, just to be a cocky asshole. Excuse my language, but he deserves the title. And the guy's a menace to society, and I don't understand why he's out. So I mean, yes, if something small like what happened to you, I believe yes, that's complete harassment, and they should not limit you from owning a firearm. But in cases like I've been through, The only reason why I can sleep at night is because I know that he's not allowed to own a firearm.
Yeah, but here's the thing about criminals. By definition, a criminal doesn't adhere to the law. That's why
Absolutely.
No matter how many laws you make, you're not going to change someone's behavior. So you can make a million laws, but a criminal, by definition, does not follow the law. He can own a firearm. He can do whatever he wants to.
But he cannot now walk into a gun shop and just walk out. For instance, I have a spotless criminal record. I don't judge anybody here for having any problems. I've never been in trouble in my life, never even had handcuffs on my wrist, never even been in the back of a cop car. But I've had plenty of friends who are criminals, so I don't, I don't judge just because you've made. I completely agree. Just because you've made stupid decisions in the past doesn't mean that you should be harassed for it for the rest of your life. But at the same time, I've been a victim of gun violence, and I'm still pro-gun. I own multiple firearms, and I agree with you that criminals are not going to abide by those laws, because the SAFE Act is, here in New York is a completely bullcrap law. And I just saw a report on the news today where there was in Chinatown in New York City they busted a gun smuggling ring where they found hundreds and hundreds of handguns and rifles being bussed in on Chinatown buses on the undercarriage. So you're absolutely right. These laws do not stop anything, and it drives me nuts that now because of certain things that I used to own, I should say, I had to get rid of all my high capacity magazines in my home because all of a sudden I was a felon because of somebody else's decision, unless I sold them.
Well, but look at Chicago, some of the strictest gun laws in America, yet there's more people die in that city every week. I mean, that's one of the most violent cities in America, but they have some of the most stringent gun laws. What we've got
that's where I live.
Is get the gun laws. It's not the laws, it's to get the justice system to do justice.
The county
justice is supposed to be blind. It's not supposed to be about your money. It's supposed to be about what you have done. And if you victimize people horrendously, then you should not be afforded the opportunity to be in society. I am a convicted felon. But if you harm somebody and you victimize somebody, especially grievously, rape, murder, robbery, then once you have done something the first time, it makes it easier the second time and the third time and the fourth time. If somebody can have the ability to rape, then that becomes easier for them from now on. Those people need to be dealt with very, very, very sternly. If you can harm a child like that, then there's no point in you being allowed in society. You should be executed.
I was told by the district attorney here in New York, because he came to my home to talk with my family because we witnessed the guy do the shooting and everything. And mind you, the guy he shot was unarmed, and he shot him in the back 5 times. The guy survived, but anyway, moving on to what I was talking about was I was talking to the DA, and I asked him, because after this I feared for my life for this guy, and his mom, who had a lot of money, still does, posted his bail, and he was after shooting this guy, he was able to run around for about 7 months before he was incarcerated. But I asked the DA, what are my rights? And he goes, well, you can't shoot him in the back. I said, I'm aware of that. That means that I was not defending myself or he was trying to run away. And I said to him, what are my rights? I said, if I see him cross my property line with a rifle and he cut me off and goes, you drop him where he stands, we will not indict you. So they do understand that there is a degree of being able to defend yourself as long as that person has proved their intent, which obviously that man proved that he has the ability to pull the firearm on an unarmed person.
There again, like I said, that is up to your prosecutors and the corrupt system in your area that allowed this guy to continue to be in the public. That's not the law's fault. That's the justice system's fault.
Oh, it's
and
disgusting.
That's you people in that area that keep electing those people to be in those offices that allow a bribe or money to make a difference. And that's what we have to realize. All this that's happening to us is our fault.
Pretty much.
You keep putting these people back in office, it's going to continue to happen. The definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
I'd like to step in on this gun stuff for a second, if I might. Okay, out here in Washington. Okay, I don't know if you any of you heard about our initiative that got passed, but anyway, we didn't used to have to do background checks at gun shows and all that stuff. Well, Mayor Bloomberg and Bill Gates dumped so much money into false advertising that the honest people couldn't tell what was actually we just couldn't compete to tell them what was really in this law. Instead of just sales, it says transfer. Meaning, if I want to let my grandson borrow one of my rifles to go hunting with, right, I'm supposed to take him at age 11 down to get a background check on him from a FFL dealer, and then I got to pay the FFL fee for that, plus the state gets a cut. But of course, that was never put on the TV. The only thing they were saying was they were closing the gun show loophole, right? So actually, Seattle, King County, being the most populous bunch of liberals in the world, got it through despite the rest of the state, for the most part, voting against it. So on the 13th of December, and if anybody wants to come support us, right now we've got 10,000 people roughly that have signed up saying they will go to the state capitol, and we will openly violate this law. And I would like to see as many people come from across the country in support of us, if that's at all possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Go right ahead.
10,000 people are going to openly pass our weapons around to each other, which you're not supposed to do. Nope, that's a transfer of a weapon, see? And we're not going to get background checks on everybody we show our weapons to. And there will be some sales, between individuals, which, of course, you're not supposed to do without getting background checks. So if anyone wants to come in and play along with it, fine. If the state tries to stop us, we've already decided we will not. I repeat, we will not back down.
And that's what it's going to take. We have got to stand together. It's just like the issue with me. The government has tried to villainize me and make me out to be all this terrible person because of a criminal conviction I had 26 years ago. And they keep breaking us apart by playing the factions against each other. We've got to understand we are Americans. We are the citizens of our states. And if we quit fighting over the small stuff and realize our liberties, our freedoms are what's important, not these laws that only the law-abiding citizens are restricted by. The criminals don't care what laws you write. You can write 1 million of them, and it's not going to stop one bit of crime.
Nope.
All the law does is create more criminals. It makes more people eligible to become criminals. And therefore,
I'm not talking about a misdemeanor here for transferring a weapon. I'm talking about a felony, a state felony. So, like I say,
you guys have allowed that to happen in your state. And you,
no,
got to stand together.
You just missed my whole point, didn't you? It was brought and paid for by Bloomberg. Okay, this was not we allowed it. It was the fact that we didn't have the money to compete. So that's what I'm saying. It's not going to stand. Highway Patrol already said they're not going to enforce it. They said they're nuts that they think that'll stand. And won't stand constitutionally either. The point is, we got to go all through all the courts and get it overturned now, instead of just doing what we're going to do. We're just going to come down there and show them publicly that you cannot enforce this law. So you might as well just get rid of it now. And the state legislature has, I believe, 2 months or something to ratify it. Once they see that it can't be enforced, they won't ratify it. That's why we're doing it. So we're just asking anybody who wants to show up, come on and show up, instead of wasting all the money on all the lawyer fees.
I hate to cut you off, brother, but I've got another caller on the line. Gray, I want to thank you for calling in. You brought up some excellent points, and I'd like to have you back on another show to discuss that very particular subject that you're covering right now. And we need to get people in your state motivated to do something about what's on there, brother. God bless you.
Well, that's what we're going to do.
Tomorrow night we got open phone lines.
Okay, we'll talk to you later. Take care of yourself, Becky. Love you.
God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for calling, Gray. Tomorrow night we're going to have open phone lines. If you want to call in, you can pretty much talk about anything. But go ahead, Becky. I know you got another caller online.
Erica 941. Who have we got?
Leroy
Hello,
McMahon.
Larry.
Charles
Hey, how
McKenna.
you doing, brother?
I'm
This
doing
is
great. How
Charles
you doing?
I'm doing good. Have you been listening to the show?
Yes, I've been listening.
Fantastic. Do you have any questions or anything that you'd like to interject with Brother Casey and Bobby and with our brother Z-Man?
Well, only that I would like to touch on the fact that Casey said that he was facing arrest for possession of a firearm, and in most states that carries 15-year mandatory sentence. And I'd also like to state, for the record, that I'm also a convicted felon, and I was released from prison in 1977 after doing 20 years in prison. And I got off parole in 2005 and moved around a little bit, Missouri, Kansas, and finally ended up here in Florida. And in 2008, I received a letter from the Interstate Compact telling me that I had to go back under supervision in the state of Florida because Alabama didn't have authority to release me from parole and let me go to another state. Now, I tried to figure out, what's going on with that, but apparently I had to either go back under supervision or be put back in prison. So I didn't have much choice. So I'm still under parole to this day, even though my crimes are over 35 years old. So, also, I'd like to bring up the fact that you're in a catch-22 situation when you're in my kind of shoes because I'm in bad health. I have emphysema, but I can't even apply for disability because that would violate my parole because I wouldn't be employed for 12 months. I mean, you talk about them wanting to keep tabs on people, and also I'd like to bring up the fact that our founding fathers was also criminals, and they turned against the crown. And I think they're scared that might happen again because for some reason criminals seem to know when they're getting messed with and messed on more so than the average person.
Absolutely, and to be honest with you, the majority of the people that I worked on the border with had some sort of criminal background. And that's because the people like us are A personalities. We're alpha males. We have an assertive personality. And
I did, Margie.
We are more susceptible to being, quote, criminals and violating the law because of the type of personality we have. And that's another reason why they've written all these laws is to constrain people like us. The people that bow down and bend over, they love those people, and they will follow every little law to every little detail. And any of us that might buck the system in any way because we recognize that they've taken our rights, we're the ones that they come after, just like you continue to be victimized for a crime that you paid for that you did over 30 years ago. But yet, in public, people, oh, you're a felon, you ain't worth the crap. No, obviously you learned your lesson. Obviously, you're not reoffending because you're still free.
So I
when does your punishment stop?
I've never violated my parole or anything, and that was, like I said, my crimes happened almost 35 years ago. We're talking 1977. That's a long time.
Yes, sir.
But what really gets me, though, is they released me. And I moved around from state to state doing whatever I wanted to do. And in 2008, I get a letter saying that I got to go back under supervision again. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm married. I have a house.
I don't see how they can do that. But Florida is infamous for, man, I will never put my foot back in Florida again, even though that state is a gorgeous, beautiful state. What broke me from Florida was I used to work hurricanes. And I went and did Hurricane Ivan was the last time I went to Florida. And it was a felony to walk on the beach. When I saw that sign that it's a felony to walk on the beach after the hurricane, I was like, man, I'm never coming back to this place again. If you're going to take somebody's life and freedom for walking on a beach, I mean, come on, man. This ain't the state for me. And that was another part of the great experiment of having all these states and all these counties is because it started out to be a 3,000 county experiment. If you didn't like the way things were run in your county, You could vote with your feet and move somewhere else where like-minded people live. But when they took the control from the county and gave it to the state, and then the state seceded it to the government, now you don't have those options to go places where you feel comfortable. Now we're being ruled by the few under a democracy instead of the republic that this country was set up to be.
Yeah, well, that few is your big corporations and then your
absolutely,
your big political regimes and your oil companies and blah blah blah. It's that 1%, if you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely, you're 100% correct, and believe me, I'm feeling it right now. I mean, like you, I learned my lesson. I have not reoffended. I haven't victimized anybody, and I've shown through my actions what type of person I am, and that I did learn my lessons, and I do not want to be a problem. But due to the laws and people willing to give up their liberty for security, we're all
a lot
stuck
of that though is false flag events. I mean, they're doing that in order to make the people afraid, to make them feel like they need the security. You follow what I'm saying? It's
you sound like me. I wouldn't care. This whole world can go to crap, and I don't call the police to come save me. You ask anybody that lives in the county I live in, I don't dial 911. If you come to my property, you come to my house, and you try to pose me a problem, I'll solve it right here, right then and there. And the only thing that I'll call is an ambulance to come get you out of my yard.
Yeah.
God, you remind me so much of me. My God, I don't call the police for nothing. All my relatives, mother, whatever, I always tell them, don't call the police. What are they going to do for you? They ain't going to do a damn thing. You don't need to call the police. We handle things our way. We don't call the police.
To take me to jail.
The police are
right.
All right. Well, y'all have a good
point.
evening.
All right. Thanks for calling us.
And I hope everything goes better for you, man. I would consider getting out of Florida.
Well, I've thought about that, but I've done bought a home, and I've got a really good job. And like I said, I have emphysema, so my health is kind of like an issue, and the Florida air seems to help it. But I'm in a catch-22 situation. You got to be 12 months without work in order to be eligible to file for disability. And but if I do that, then I'm in violation of my parole, because you're supposed to be gainfully employed during parole. So I can't do.
I would try to find a civil rights attorney and somebody that could help you take on that cause, because I don't see how, once you've successfully discharged your parole, your sentence, that they could just arbitrarily say, okay, hey, you're back on paper again. I don't see how that can happen.
Well,
I know that I know how this legal system is, but I don't see how they could legally justify doing that to you.
Well,
if I can intervene for 1 second, just between you guys, you will find a pro bono lawyer, okay? You have to find a constitutionalist lawyer, okay? And sit down and talk with them, and you will find one that will do it pro bono. I guarantee it. Because you know what? Cases like this, like you have right now, is a specialized case that gives lawyers certain recognition, and you will definitely find a pro bono lawyer, I'm telling you.
Well, I'll definitely check into that and see if I can find one, because I surely need one.
The age of the internet, man, it just takes a few keystrokes.
Well, I'm kind of new to the internet thing. I'm starting to get the hang of it, though.
Get one of your kids or grandkids to do it, because they grew up with it now, and my kids are better at computers than I am.
But make sure it's a constitutionalist lawyer.
All right,
absolutely.
I will. I know a young man who got into trouble, did his time, got out, and they told him one of the stipulations of him not being able, of his parole, is he wasn't allowed to use the internet, wasn't allowed to have a social media account, Facebook or whatever. And he adhered to that. He didn't touch a computer as soon as he got out. And now, or actually, I think he's back out again. But he ended up getting violated because they looked online and saw that he still had a Facebook account, and they arrested him for it. Meanwhile, the only way he would have been able to delete it is if he went on the internet, which they would have violated him for.
Right, and Facebook doesn't allow you to delete it without a bunch of red tape and hassle and everything else anyway.
Exactly. So I forgot how they put it. I heard a police officer say they designed the system to take care of rebels. Was pretty much his word for word.
And that's very much true.
And that's the whole thing. Is that's why my parents. I'm glad that I happen to be fortunate enough to have parents that taught me the right thing to do, and I never got in trouble. But I will admit, when I was younger, I was bullied a lot, and I got into a fist fight, and I hurt the kid a little bit. But the thing was, the kid was assaulting me. I defended myself, and then I ended up having to do like 20 hours of community service because I was defending myself. But they could have screwed my life up from then on, and I would have been in and out of the system. All they had to do was give me probation or put me in jail, but I was like 14 at the time. So I was fairly lucky in that sense that I didn't get caught up in the system and that they gave me a chance. But I also didn't go back out and get back in trouble again. So,
in defense of my parents, I'm the first person in my entire lineage that ever went to prison. My family is good people. I just was hard-headed, and I grew up in a rough part of Dallas, and can't blame anybody but me. I'm the one that did what I did. I'm the one that put myself in that position, and, I'm continuing to pay the price 26-plus years later.
Yeah, we're too much alike. I'm in the same situation. I mean, everything you said, we're pretty much on the same damn. we've pretty much lived the same life. You're only a couple years older than me, so I don't know if we got any more callers. 929-477-3565. We only got about 15 minutes left here, and anybody that wants to call in, talk to Casey, has any questions, so on and so forth, do so now. But one thing I wanted to ask you, Casey. I know that right now you're fighting a criminal case, and you have a GoFundMe page up. I mean, do you want to give out some kind of information about that can help you out, and maybe you can give out your GoFundMe page?
Yeah, I'd appreciate it. Actually, I'm not using GoFundMe. What I use is PayPal. The pages that have been set up for me, it goes directly to me through PayPal. And you can find me on Facebook at Kc Massey, OMA3, and my email address, in case anybody's listening, is COSSACK@yahoo.com. That's COSSACK@yahoo.com. COSSACKC@yahoo.com. And that's how people are able to try to help me in my legal defense. I've found out that it is extremely expensive to fight this federal government. The lawyer is going to cost me upwards of $75,000 to $80,000 to defend my rights.
No. Becky, can you please mute whoever's making all that noise? Because it's really, really, really loud. Or maybe they can mute themselves. Because while Casey was giving out his email address, I was trying to write it down, and 3 times that he said it, I couldn't even get it. But I'm sorry, go ahead, Casey.
361. I've got you online. Who am I talking to? Area code 361. You're live.
Hey, how's it going, Becky?
Yeah, who have I got?
This is Rudy.
Hey, Rudy, how you doing, brother?
Better than some, worse than others. Somewhere in the happy middle. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. We've got Brother Kc Massey with us tonight. Have you been listening to the show?
No, I was just stirring the pot in one of our Facebook groups, and then I saw that you posted a call the show, so I said, let me call the show, see what Becky's up to today.
And we've got Kc Massey on. Kc, you can give a little brief about who you are and see if he has questions for you.
My name's Kc Massey. I was the camp commander of Camp Lone Star, the longest-running, most successful border operation in the United States to date in Brownsville, Texas.
Yep.
Rudy, is that
yes, ma'am.
in your background?
So how's it going? So what's going on with Camp Lone Star down there?
I'm barred by federal court order that I cannot communicate with anybody at Camp Lone Star, so I could not give you accurate, up-to-date information. To my understanding, basically after I was incarcerated, Camp Lone Star is, for the most part, shut down. There's a few people, I think, that are still involved, but I don't know for sure. I can't talk to anybody there or talk to anybody that was considered a Rusty's Ranger.
So where's Camp Lone Star located at exactly?
Brownsville, Texas.
Where in Brownsville?
Directly on the border.
Okay. The reason I asked is because sometimes I pass by there. The other day I was in Los Fresnos, and yesterday, as a matter of fact, I was down over there in San Benito. Sometimes I pass by and I just see what's going on and just say hi to people, you know.
It's the camp is located. I really don't want to put the address out for security for the guys that are there, but it is located directly on the border, and it would be considered east of the newest port bridge going into Mexico.
East of Okay, I'll swing by there and check it out next time I'm down there. Just all of that people, you know.
If you get on Facebook, they do have a Camp Lone Star page, and you could request to talk to the people there and get the details on how to get there and, you know, what's going on there. They would be able to help you. And there's also another page, Patriots on Patrol, that keeps pretty up-to-date information about what's going on down there.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, I've been going down there a lot lately, and I'm pretty sure I'll be down there next week or something, you know. I'd like to swing by and just talk to the guys or something, you know, or just see what's going on and just get a feel for things, you know. I always get along with the Border Patrol. I always get along with everybody, normally. Of course, that's normally. Sometimes there's that one or two people that just tend to look down on you and have a bad attitude. You know, bad attitudes don't necessarily bring good attitudes about, you know. But, you know, that's just to be expected. But, you know, it sounds like you've had a tough time. I know anytime you get locked up and stuff, it's a big deal. And if you were in charge of that place, I imagine it's not necessarily for something you yourself could have done, but somebody else under your command. I know that's how it is in the military.
What the charges against me are, they stem from two things. One is a felony conviction that I had 26 years ago when I was a kid. I'm 48 now. I was 22 then. I satisfied my sentence and lived it down, but the federal government is coming after me under a mob-era law from the 20s and 30s under the Interstate Commerce Clause that says that felons cannot be in possession of a firearm, and those laws were originally written to combat mobsters, which I have no association or affiliation at any time in my life with mobsters. But
have you ever
shake the politician's
hand? I said, if you ever shake the politician's hand, that could have been your undoing right there.
Well, my undoing, I believe, was to be vocal in opposition to the false stories that were being put out by the Border Patrol and by the media in general, telling the American people that we did not have a right to arrest or detain people, and I documented on video that we do, and to also make the claims that we were not trained and not able to do what we did, and I demonstrated that we were able to, and we were far more successful than the, quote, trained officers, and all we did was use common sense. And because I kind of blasted their whole story out of the water, it upset the federal government and the agents, and so they had to find a way to shut me up, and the way they did is they went back to mobster laws that were written in the 1920s and 30s to come after me.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Was that something under the RICO Act?
No, sir. It's under the Interstate Commerce Clause.
Oh, okay.
Comes
all right.
later. Well, man, that's terrible. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say I didn't know. I didn't know if one had anything to do with the other.
No, RICO was a more recent law that I believe came out in the 80s that was dealing with organized crime and gangs. The laws that are being used against me were written specifically against the mobsters back in the day, the Al Capones and those kind of guys.
You guys,
Sure.
They were transporting guns.
Bring in. We're running out of time. I got about 7 minutes, and I've got a caller. You stay on the line, Rudy. I'm going to bring 972. Who have I got on the line?
Hey, Becky, it's Micah with Freedom, Texas.
Hey,
I just wanted to say, can you hear me?
Yeah, sis.
Okay. Just wanted to say, first of all, I know we have a short amount of time. Thank you so much, Kc, for what you've done and what you're continuing to do. You're doing what our government should be doing for us. And again, in the interest of time, with this amnesty issue that's going on, and I'm sorry I missed most of the show, I'm getting a lot of calls from people that I never thought were ready for Texas to take its independence, and they're looking for militias. I mean, and they're telling me, I'm involved with what you would call maybe a weekend warrior militia. They mess around with your radios, but there are people who are ready to take our country back.
What up, Bob?
Evan.
All right. Thank you, Bobby. Go ahead, Micah.
I don't even know where I got cut off. I couldn't hear anything.
Oh, you got to talk about the people who are asking about militias taking the independence of Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting contacted several times a day. They're serious. They said, this is it. What more is he going to do? There's no one going to save our country but us, and they're ready to do it. And it's from people who I would have never thought were going to fight for their country. We're going to fight for America. We're going to fight for Texas independence. And it's stemming off of this amnesty.
My suggestion to America and to Texas is first, we need to all get on our knees and pray to God to give us the strength and the wisdom and the courage to do whatever we need to do to preserve our state and our country. I'll be the first to say that, violence should be a very last effort. I know that, right now there's a lot of heat and a lot of tension and a lot of anger, and it's well-deserved. But you also have to think that we want to break down and start killing each other. I mean, this is our country. Do we want to destroy our country like these Middle Eastern countries are doing? I don't think so. But we've got to take control of our government. We have to take control of our elected officials. We need to hold their feet to the fire. We need to have people, instead of trying to take up arms against the country or the government, we need to flood our state capital, Austin. We need to flood it with people and let the lawmakers know exactly how we feel. And the only way we're going to be able to do that and do it articulately, in my opinion, is to pray to God to get the wisdom, to get the strength, the courage to do the right thing. And God will provide for us. This country was founded and started with a great respect and reverence for God. And that's one of the things that's ruined this country, is because we've left God behind.
I agree.
Absolutely right.
We have. I mean, speaking of God, and we'll talk about the Bible, Revelations. I mean, we're here. It's not going to get better, but we can't just lay down. And I don't want to say that they're looking to fight, but they want to take a stand, and people don't know how to take that stand because voting's not working.
Well, all of our lawmakers here in Texas are not on our side, yet we keep electing them and putting them back in, just like Joe Strauss is going to be reelected as the Speaker of the House of Texas. And he's demonstrated through his actions that he is not on the side of the Texas people. The only way we're going to change that is we have got to be very vocal. We have got to go to Austin and let them know we're tired of this, we're not going to tolerate this, and things are going to have to change or we will take you guys out of office and we'll have our own special election, because the Constitution tells us that whenever the government gets out of control like this, it's time to remove them and restart it. And that's where we're at. But it doesn't have to be done violently. I mean, you know, I pray every day that we don't have to.
Casey, I respect what you're saying, but they're not going to step down without force.
When you start showing up at their doorsteps, when you go to their homes, when you go to their offices, and you're there in massive amounts, they can't even get to their car without waiting through 2, 3, 4, 500 people. They're not going to have a choice. They're going to realize the futility and their efforts to keep holding us.
Well, as long as people have their iPhones and have, you know, access to the internet, nobody's going to do anything about it, because, like I said in yesterday's episode, that when it comes down to it, number one, we don't have the same generation of people as we did like back in the 1950s, because women used to, when the men were all out at war, the women took up the cause of going to the factories and building planes. I don't see anybody in my generation doing that nowadays.
Has anybody been on Deagle.com?
People are willing to make the sacrifices that are necessary.
Has anybody been on Deagle.com?
Anybody what?
Been on Deagle.com? DEAGLE.com?
No, I never even heard of it.
Okay, well, when you check out their website, you look at the date, look at the gross domestic product, look at the country, look at the population.
6 seconds. So I need you guys to wrap up. Bobby, I'll let you at the end of the show. Mike, thank you for being in, sister. And I'll talk to you in a bit. Casey, thanks for being on the show. Bobby, I'm close. We're down to one.
Okay. I appreciate you guys having me on. I pray for our country. I pray for our state. I pray for each and every person that we come together and we're able to get our country back without having to destroy our country in the process. God bless everybody. And if anybody wants to friend me on Facebook, it's Kc Massey, OMA 3.
God bless you, Casey.
Well,
and I
was just going to say, we appreciate you joining us and taking time out of your day, you know, and we're sure you probably got a million better things you could have been doing than sitting here jabbing John with us, but we appreciate it. And if you can, one more time, give out the information for your PayPal account and for your email for anybody that might want to help support your fund.
If you want to help support me and my legal defense, you can go to PayPal and enter my email address, which is COSSACKKC@yahoo.com. 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 Thanks so much for having me on. I enjoyed it, and I hope to talk to you guys again.
All righty, brother.
Pleasure,
We appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. And we want to thank everybody else for calling in, joining us, and listening to Casey join us tonight. We appreciate you all. Without you, we are nobody. And tomorrow night, we're going to be doing an open mic night again. The show that Becky did last night was a huge success. We had over 25 callers. We want everybody to call in and voice your opinions and tell us what you think about what's going on with the amnesty situation and everything else. And then Becky will be having a show on Saturday. But we want to thank everybody for calling us, listening to us, and joining us. So until next time, we have been your hosts, and this has been Rage Against the Regime Radio.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.